The trade block is hot, ladies and gentlemen. It is hot. And we had Nolan Arenado hot off the presses. I mean, listen, we've heard a lot about Nolan Arenado this offseason, right? The Red Sox have been a popular landing spot for him. There's been all this, speculation, rumors about maybe Rafi Devers coming off of third base. Maybe he goes to DH. Maybe he goes to first base. Who the heck knows what's going on with that? But Arenado has absolutely been a guy that's been on Boston's radar. We've seen the Astros now emerge. We even had a list of teams where he would waive his no trade clause. We even saw the Angels on that list, for crying out loud. I saw a lot of people thinking, the Angels? Well, why are the Angels on this list? What's going on there? Well, my guess is probably because, he grew up a California guy. Maybe that was part of it. I don't know. But, we've heard over the last week or so, the Dodgers don't really seem to be all that interested. That was it's been a popular landing spot for a while now for Arenado. But anyway, let's get to the actual story here. The Astros emerge as a serious suitor for Arenado, and perhaps the clearest sign the organization is moving on from Alex Bregman. The Houston Astros have emerged as a serious suitor for St. Louis Cardinals third baseman Nolan Arenado. No deal is believed to be imminent, but conversations between the Cardinals and the Astros have increased since this week's winter meetings in Dallas. John Mozeliak acknowledged he intends to try moving Arenado. Now, you might be thinking, well, they just got Isaac Paredes. Why would they want Arenado at this point? Well, Paredes, he can play first base as well, right? I believe he played around, 20 or 30 games there this past year? Not a lot, but he did play a bit there. But he could definitely move over to first, and then the Astros can just put Arenado at third. You got the Crawford boxes there. Paredes is going to be a monster with the Crawford boxes. It's funny with Paredes because not a lot of exit velocity from him, but a guy that pulls, and he's going to use Houston to his advantage. It's going to be fun to see, I think. And then Arenado, same thing, right? You've seen the power regressing over the last couple of years. Still does okay when it comes to the batting average, getting on base. Still makes a good amount of contact. Doesn't really strike out all that much, but just the bat speed has gone down, the exit velocity's gone down. But again, same thing, right? Have the short porch in left field. Arenado would be great. And, for the Astros, as they try to transition through this, through this next phase of Astros baseball, trying to restore that farm system up a little bit, Arenado, I think, would be a great fit. I did predict it in the beginning of the offseason. I don't know. I just like the idea of it. He'd fit well there. Bat would play, good veteran guy, right? I mean, honestly, if you're going to be losing a guy like Alex Bregman, I mean, man, who better than one of the best third basemen of all time in Nolan Arenado? I think that'd be pretty cool. But with Arenado, you got to remember here, there is a big contract attached with Arenado. I'm very curious to see how the contract unfolds, because you go back to when the Rockies traded him. What was the one talking point behind that whole thing? The Rockies, they paid $50 million just to trade Nolan Arenado, just to get him off their team. Wow, the Rockies, what a terrible franchise. Listen, I'm telling you, man, you might see, maybe not $50 million, but I think in a position where you're going to see the Cardinals have to eat a bit too. Not $50 million, like I said, but, maybe more in that $20 million range. Maybe. The more they pay, the more they can get in return. So we'll see. But right now you're looking at a negative 16.5 on the median value on baseball trade values. So let's say you just pay 20. I mean, really, it's a salary dump at the end of the day. And so, in this case, you'd be able to get a little something. I actually kind of like this, right? $20 million. Even if you did 18 million, did $6 million per season over the next few years, $6 million. We all wish we had $6 million, but that's not the worst hit to your payroll. So it sounds reasonable, I would say, to get him off the payroll. So you are saving quite a bit of money in the long run. But let's just say they end up just paying $20 million over the next 3 years. So you would be able to get something back in this instance, right? I did a mock trade the other day where I believe I did the number 7 prospect. I did Zach Cole. That was an decent outfielder. And then maybe you could do something like an AJ Bluebaugh, whatever it may be, right? At that point, you could be able to get back one of the Astros' top 10 prospects because the Astros' top 10 prospects in the grand scheme of things aren't all that valuable because the Astros farm system doesn't rank very well. Now, the top 10 prospects for, say, the Orioles, that's different because the Orioles have a very strong farm. But for the Astros, on the other hand, not so much. Now, Zach Cole, there's some upside there, but you could probably see the Astros give up maybe one of their top 10, right? So, Arenado, I do expect to get moved sooner or later. We'll just have to wait and see. Like I said, when it comes to Arenado, right? There's a lot of teams that could use a third baseman, right? The Blue Jays, they're a team, they've been having a bit of a hard time trying to attract some free agents there. They did just make a big trade for Andres Jimenez. That'll give them some good defense at second base. Can you imagine adding Arenado? I mean, that would be a pretty solid infield, if you ask me. It's funny where the Angels were on that that were on the list where he would waive his no trade clause. Could you imagine they just shock everyone and bring in Arenado here, and then Anthony Rendon gets just DFA'd or something? My goodness, what drama that would be. Kind of looking at, a team like the Phillies. Dave Dombrowski. He's been offering Alec Boehm for pretty much every single top player, right? There's been reports over the last couple of days. He offered Alec Boehm in a package, I guess, for for Kyle Tucker. Alec Boehm and Justin Crawford. So we offered that. He offered him, I guess, in a package for Mason Miller. Are you out of your mind? Alec Boehm is good, but you got to cut it out with trying to have him be the leading piece in a trade. Yeah, sure, he's got a little bit of control. Goodness gracious, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? So I don't know. Could you, if you move Boehm, could you take on Arenado? That'd be another veteran guy to add to this team. Again, the Red Sox, right? The Red Sox are a very logical landing spot. But of course, you have the conundrum where, all right, what do you do with Raffy? Do you move Casas? Does Raffy go over to first base like Kevin Youkilis years ago? Like other guys have in the past as well. Pujols, Ryan Zimmerman, Miguel Cabrera. Could Raffy be that next guy to do it? Or he goes to DH, whatever. But the Red Sox, they do need to improve the defense at third base. If I'm looking at some other teams, there's not really, in my opinion, a whole lot, because I think he needs to go somewhere where his bat is going to play. I think right now, the two teams that make the most sense to me are the Astros and the Red Sox. I've already explained the Astros, where they have the Crawford boxes. Fenway, you got the Green Monster, so he could probably play a good amount of wall ball. Kind of reminds me of Mike Lowell, We'll see what happens with Arenado. But listen, it's not just Arenado right now. It is not just Arenado. We got a lot going on here. Where was the John Heyman tweet? I've already lost the John Heyman tweet. There's the John Heyman tweet. Cody Bellinger. Still a money gap in Bellinger trade talk with the Yankees and the Cubs as of this minute. It's a matter of who blinks first, if ever. Still could happen, but the Yankees also considering Alonso, Walker, Carlos Santana, Josh Naylor, Nate Lowe, probably others. Now, funny, I believe the gap in the money is that the Yankees want the Cubs to cover $10 million. That's kind of funny because I just did a video on trades I want to see, and I did $10 million in that. So, yeah, all right. Decent chunk of change. But if you put 10 million here, you're going to be able to get a little something back. You know? So we'll see. I guess they're at a bit of a stalemate right now. Again, like he said, a matter of who blinks first. But, I've talked about Bellinger and the Yankees. I think it's a good fit. I think it makes a lot of sense. The Yankees obviously losing Juan Soto. Bellinger is not Juan Soto by any means, but, a lefty bat. And with Cody Bellinger, you are absolutely, going to have that bat play at Yankee Stadium. His expected home runs, I believe, would increase by 6. He had 18 home runs this past year. The expected home runs at Yankee Stadium was 24. I think you would see a rejuvenated bat there. Who knows? I don't know what happened with Bellinger this year, man. He had a great season in 2023, bounce back year, but not a bad year by any means, but just didn't really come close to that same production. He'll definitely get that production with the Yankees, I think. Getting back to the $10 million, kind of where I came up with the $10 million is when you're looking at Bellinger. Let's actually pull up the numbers here. My guess is that has to do with the projected, his projected F-WAR for 2025. So it's a 2.3 as of right now. So one win above replacement is worth $8 million. So 2.3 times $8 million, that comes out to around $18.5 million. He's getting paid, I believe, what is he getting paid? $27.5 million this year? I think that's what the number was. Yeah, $27.5 million. So they're looking for around $10 million, I think, because they're projecting him to be around anywhere from a 2 to a 2.5 wins above replacement player. So that's where I think that number is coming from. So we'll see. But I think this just makes a lot of sense for the Yankees. For the Cubs, you just brought in Kyle Tucker. You got to make some room. Right? Really, when you look at the Cubs depth chart right now, Kyle Tucker out and right. Cody Bellinger's in center. So what does that mean for Peter Crow-Armstrong? I would imagine this is the time to get Pete Crow-Armstrong in there. One of the top prospects in the game, showed a couple of good things last year, had some pop, had some speed. I would think this is kind of the time where the Cubs really want to get him in there full time. He had over 400 plate appearances this past year. So I guess you could hang on to Bellinger, but, you're going to have a hard time getting Pete some playing time. So I would imagine he is going to get moved. If the Yankees do fall out of it, again, I'll go back to these other teams, that I mentioned earlier, the Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays really could use something. They could use another bat out there. You got Lopervito projected for left field as of right now. I'm thinking of maybe some other teams. I don't know. Houston, I think their outfield's pretty much set. No, you could do Houston. No, I take that back. Sorry. You could definitely do Bellinger out in Houston. I could see that if Arenado ends up not going there. I don't know. I'd have to think about it a little bit more, to be honest. But right now, I would think the Yankees, they make the most sense to me. I don't know. No, not Cincinnati. That wouldn't really do it for me. Seattle. They could use bats. Maybe, but is Bellinger in a pitcher-friendly park really going to do all that much for you? Yankee Stadium is that perfect fit for him. So we'll see what ends up happening with the Yankees. I feel like that's going to get done at some point. I would be pretty surprised. But if that does not happen, right, we just saw John Heyman. He listed off a few possibilities that could be backup opportunities, right? Carlos Santana is a free agent. Josh Naylor is on the trade block. Listen, Josh Naylor, that power bat at Yankee Stadium, you could maybe see a guy, 35, 40 home runs. I don't know. Josh Naylor, that could be pretty fun. You'd have to give up a little something there for Naylor. Nate Lowe is interesting. I wonder if Nate Lowe, if he ends up going somewhere this offseason, right? If you go take a look at the Rangers as of right now. Well, the thing with Lowe is he has control. He's going to bring you back something, right? So, and right now, if I'm looking at the Rangers bullpen, they need guys in this bullpen. You just lost Yates. That'd be great if they can bring him back. But, maybe that could nab you a pretty decent reliever there. If more, maybe you can get a starter, right? More of like a mid back end rotation kind of a guy somewhere out there. But, Nate Lowe, right? But you got some guys like Josh Smith, you got Josh Young that could possibly cover there. So Nate Lowe, I do wonder if he ends up getting moved at some point. Josh Naylor would be pretty fun. Moving on to another guy, Luis Castillo. His name got pretty hot over the last few days. Well, the Mariners, they don't ever want to trade their pitching, they're at the end of the day, they got to take advantage of their strength. They got a pitcher-friendly park. Makes sense, but if they're going to move a guy, Luis Castillo would be the guy. Kirby, Gilbert, yeah, they would bring you in a haul, but, they're very cheap. They're club controlled, so yeah, probably want to hang on to those guys, right? Bryce Miller, Brian Wu, those guys have an extra year of control over Kirby and Gilbert. So I can understand wanting to keep those four. That's a homegrown rotation right there. That's not bad if you ask me. But Luis Castillo makes sense. Listen, the Mariners, hey, I guess they need, they need to go find the money to go get some bats. So Luis Castillo, he's owed a lot of money. Now, here's the thing with Castillo. When it comes to Castillo, he is owed a lot of money over the next four more years he's got. Or three, or no, well, you got to think of it as 4 years. He's under contract for 25, 26, and 27, but he has a vesting option for 28. You have to assume that that's going to happen, right? You pretty much, if you're going to be making a move for Castillo, you got to go into it knowing that is there. You can't just think, vesting option. Nah, he won't get that. Well, what if he does? Or you just saw Nathan Eovaldi. He hit his innings mark to vest his option with the Rangers, and then he ended up to vest his player option. So you have to take that into consideration with Castillo. So he's owed a lot of money. But, to me, this is a guy that's pretty steady, right? He is, over the last few years, he's up there when it comes to innings pitched, right? I've mentioned that with Corbin Burns, with Logan Webb, right? Castillo's up there as well. This guy is a workhorse. Every year, this guy pretty much gets 30 starts under his belt, minus that 2022 season where he had 25. This past year, 175 and a third innings pitched. ERA was in the mid threes, and then the FIP was near a 4. The numbers have been regressing a little bit. The strikeouts went a bit down this year. The walks, strikeouts, still around the same. He was pitching a little bit more to contact this year. He was getting hit a bit at times. But Castillo, this is a guy where if you bring him in, he's going to be, a good 2 or 3 for a lot of teams out there. So, we did see a lot of teams start to emerge, right? The Red Sox were one team, all right? They're looking to add another guy after Garrett Crochet. Will they end up doing it? I don't know. I'm going to be on Fenway Faithful live in the next hour after this show tonight. I'm going to dive more into that. But I do wonder if the Red Sox end up actually adding someone. I don't know. We'll see. I got the guys I got my eye on. But with Castillo, they have been connected with him. I guess there were some phone calls. They had been offering... Well, I don't think they were offering Tristan Casas for Luis Castillo. I think they were offering Casas for one of the young guys, right? Bryce Miller, Brian Wu. Who knows if Gilbert or Kirby came into that conversation. But the Mariners pretty much said, nah, we're good. We don't want Casas. Well, I don't get it because they need bats. But a few days ago, it was reported that they are continuing to get phone calls. And the Cubs emerged as a possibility for. And also the Mets and the Orioles have made a phone call. Now, I really like the idea of the Cubs, to be honest. I really do. I like that. I feel like, you got 3 lefties in that rotation already. Add a guy, get a little, another righty to this mix, right? You got Imanaga, Castillo, Steele. That's a really nice 1, 2, 3, if you ask me, right? And then you got Tyone and Boyd would be your number 5. Assad would be your long reliever. I like that. I like that a lot. Castillo, I think, would be a good fit. Now, for the Mets, I like the fit for the Mets too. And in the video that I just did over the weekend, I said I would like to see Castillo for the Mets. And the reason I would like to see it, well, first off, the pockets are limitless with Steve Cohen. Hey, take on Castillo's contract. Sounds good. But I feel like they could use a steady guy, someone that's been proven to give you innings. You bring in Montas, there's a health question mark there. Clay Holmes has been a reliever. You know, Senga, even Senga, right? He missed a lot of time this past year. There is question marks with this rotation. I think someone steady like Luis Castillo would make a lot of sense. The Mets, they got the pockets, make something happen, right? And then the Orioles are interesting. We're going to talk about the Orioles in a little bit. Man, interesting article came out over the weekend with the Orioles. But yeah, in my opinion, I don't love the idea. How do I say this? I like it, but I don't love it, is basically what I'm saying here. Like, I feel like you already got you got 2s and 3s already in this rotation. You got Eflin, you got G-Rod. Castillo is really just another 2 to me. Eflin, I think, is a solid 2, right? Maybe a 3 in some people's eyes. I see Castillo in that same, maybe a little higher than Eflin, I would say. Probably a little above Eflin, but not Corbin Burnes, right? I think that's what the Orioles need to do. I think they need to go out, bring back Corbin Burnes. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you're not going to go spend the money and bring in an ace-like guy, I'd rather they go after a young gun like a Jared Jones. I think that makes a lot of sense. A young starting pitcher with a lot of control that fits into this competitive window. I think that it would be great for the Orioles if they're not going to spend the money. I'd rather they just bring in Corbin Burnes, have the veteran guy to lead your rotation through the next 4 or 5 years. I think that makes a lot of sense. So we'll see. But, Mets, Orioles, Cubs going after Luis Castillo. I'll be honest, I really like the idea of Castillo for the Red Sox. I would love that, right? Garrett Crochet, Castillo, Tanner Houck. I think that'd be pretty fun. I've always been a big fan of Castillo. When the Mariners got him a couple of years ago, I loved that trade. It was an aggressive trade from the Mariners' point of view. Remember, they gave up Noelvi Marte, who at the time was a very high prospect, and then he got busted for PEDs not too long after. But then remember, Edwin Arroyo was setting the world on fire in the minor leagues, and they threw him into the deal to get the deal done. It was a huge overpay, right? But I love the aggressiveness from the Mariners on that. I loved it. I love Castillo, man. Great stuff. Gets a lot of swing and miss. I like Castillo a lot. So, but will the Red Sox do that? I mean, I don't know. To me, it's like if you're going to be taking on a big contract, I don't know, and you got to assume that Castillo is going to be there for the next 4 years, I would rather the Red Sox just bring in Corbin Burnes. That's just me. I don't know. Like, I like it, but I don't know if I like the money very much. And I don't think the Mariners are going to pay down any of the money. I think they're going to look for a team to just take on the contract. Because it's not an underwater contract. He still performs very well. He's just getting paid a lot. He's getting paid equal to what he's providing on the field. So I don't think the Mariners are going to end up paying that contract. I mean, could they maybe like a smidge? I don't think so. But we'll see. What else we got? I think we had another one. Oh, Jesus Luzardo. Jesus Luzardo. He's coming up here. Now, coming into the offseason, I wondered if Luzardo would be moved, right? Because he had the back injury this year, missed a lot of time. Everything was off, right? It was basically a wash of a year, right? Had a few good starts in there, but you got to look back to the 2023 Luzardo. That was the guy, right? That's the guy you're going after right there. He still has good velocity, good stuff, but he was hurt this year, so you didn't really see any of that all that much. But the good thing is that he had a back issue. Now, I'm not saying that makes anything any better, but compared to the arm, I would think teams would rather your back be bugging you a little bit than your arm. So he's had a while now where He's been rehabbing. He's in the offseason right now. Should be good to go for spring training. I haven't seen where there any reports where there could be a holdup. So Luzardo, yeah. At this point, coming into the offseason, I wasn't sure because I thought maybe teams would want to see how he's doing. But with starting pitching so expensive and hard to acquire in a trade, especially with all these other guys on the market, I could see teams turning to the Marlins at this point saying, hey, how's the back doing? How's he doing? What do you want for him? Right? Now, where you might be thinking here, well, why would the Marlins sell low? Well, maybe it ends up not turning into that situation. Maybe it ends up being where teams will try to use that against the Marlins, saying, well, he had a back issue. Well, the Marlins can just say, okay, go trade for that guy. Go sign for that guy. We don't need to move him, right? Teams get desperate. Teams are like, oh, man, we really got to make an upgrade to this rotation. All right, send us the medicals and we'll talk, right? That's kind of where I'm at with Luzardo. I wouldn't be surprised if he got moved. I kind of thought that coming into the year or the offseason, but, again, it's the back. It's not like an elbow or a shoulder. So wouldn't be surprised. But the Cubs, right, they're kind of tapping into everything right now. Good for the Cubs, by the way. We already did a stream on Kyle Tucker. Good for them, man, right? Making a big move, right? Sure, haven't really done anything crazy in free agency, but you've made one of the best moves of the offseason, right? And it could end up being one of the best moves of the entire offseason once we get into 2025. Love that move for the Cubs. But I love that they're still trying to go out there and make something happen, right? Luis Castillo, Jesus Luzardo. I would love Jesus Luzardo. And I think for the Cubs, they got some pieces where they could get it done. Owen Casey, I don't know. Cubs fans like him a lot. I think with Owen Casey, there is some strikeout issues with him. He's got power, or he's a corner outfielder with, some strikeout, but he's got power. So that's the fun part of him. He put up good numbers this past year. So if you don't want to part with Casey, could you do someone like Kevin Alcantara? Something like that. I think the Cubs could be a good trade partner because they have projectable bats. That's what the Marlins have been looking for. Go back to the draft. They were drafting these kind of guys. So I think the Cubs will end up being a good trade partner if this does end up happening. We'll see. And I see you in the chat, Odd Villain, Cubs would have mad lefties. I love it. Like at first I kind of hated it because I'm like, oh, that's so many lefties. But you know what? Screw it. I don't care. Let's do it. Put all the lefties in there. 5-man rotation, all lefties. I'd love that. I mean, it could be, I don't know. Could that be an issue? I don't know. But if the guys are good, they're good, Anyway, Jesus Luzardo. But what else we got here? The Cubs did bring in Carson Kelly, 2-year, $11.5 million deal. But yeah, that's pretty much it right now on the trade front. It's very busy. We've had a lot of news as of late. So we just have to wait and see. But we got a little something here on Jack Flaherty. What is the latest on Jack Flaherty? Well, we got a little something from Ken Rosenthal. Little something. He said here, right, more of the focus is on Corbin Burnes right now. It looks like it's the Giants, the Blue Jays, maybe the Red Sox could be involved. I think the Giants have to be tabbed as the favorites right now for Corbin Burnes. I feel like Burnes at this point, I don't know, it's just so weird because I thought Fried was going to come off the board after Burnes, right? Teams would turn to him. But Burnes is still there. So I've been kind of wondering here, what's going on? What is happening with Burnes? Why? This is the top picture on the market. Why did Max Fried get 8 years over 2 before Corbin Burnes? In a way, but then you could look at it from Burnes' point of view, being like, well, okay, well, he got 8 years. Well, I want 9. I feel like I've been just as good as Fried over the last couple of years, He was hurt a couple of years ago. I've been a workhorse for the last 3 years. So you could look at it from that, with the point of view from Burnes. Now, with Burnes, I find it interesting because it almost feels like Boris is just waiting out for more money. It's kind of, I mean, that's what Boris does, obviously. But I felt like there was some momentum gaining for a signing there, and then it just never happened. So I'm wondering if he's just waiting for the Giants to maybe up the offer. He is originally from California, you know? So, but hey, Max Fried, he was originally from California. He didn't go out there. So who knows? Maybe Burns doesn't go out, and he does the same, and he doesn't go out west. Maybe stays east. We'll see. But I think the Giants, I think they're a good fit. And also, remember, Willy Adames. Hey, former teammate. You got that going for you. But we'll see with Burns. But with Flaherty, Ken Rosenthal was speculating maybe a reunion with Baltimore. Now, we had a report. We're going to get to the Orioles in just a second here. But he says here, Rosenthal last week said that Baltimore is reluctant to pursue starting pitchers from other clubs that have the qualifying offer, who would therefore require the Orioles to forfeit draft capital in order to be signed. While the Orioles' top target has long been considered to be Burns, Rosenthal suggests that Flaherty stands out as a fallback option for the Orioles should they fail to reunite with their current ace. I am going to still think of the Orioles in there. It's kind of just crazy to me because this guy just did so good for you this past year. I would think this is the guy that you would want to keep around. You made the trade for him. Now keep him around. We'll see if the Orioles emerge. Maybe they swoop in and get a deal done. But I don't know. But Flaherty, yeah, I could see the fallback of Flaherty for sure. The Orioles are interesting to me because Flaherty, they traded for him back in 2023. He really didn't pitch all that great. Flaherty, I'm going to be honest with you, he scares the crap out of me. Sure, guys like Walker Buehler are out there, where he's had 2 Tommy Johns. I get that. But with Flaherty, man, this guy has had so many injuries. Back, shoulder, neck. I mean, what else? Leg. I mean, everything. He's always getting bugged by something. This past year was amazing for Flaherty, right? He got through a full season. It felt like forever since that happened, right? In 2023, he pitched a lot too, but he didn't pitch all that great in the second half. But you really saw what Flaherty could do this past year. You finally saw that potential just blossom. I just worry about him moving forward. And I don't know, would the Orioles, if you're not having to give up the qualifying offer, you're not having to give up as much money than you would for Corbin Burns. I could see that aspect, but I don't know. Flaherty to me, like I would just like for a team, I would love for a team like the Angels to do something there. Right. I really want the Angels to just do something, but then again, could that end up being just another terrible signing for them? All these terrible signings they've made over the years. So maybe that's not a great idea, but I'm more coming along the lines of where I want a team where they can just take a risk, and if they want to compete, just, bring them in. Maybe, you can get it done on like a 4-year deal. 5, I don't know, with the track record of his health, I don't know. Will he get 5 years? I honestly wonder if maybe you end up seeing a 3-year deal. You know what I mean? Or like some kind of like an opt out after the first 2 years or something like that. I wonder if that's what he ends up getting. But the Orioles, I think, makes sense. He would be their opening day guy. But again, I just get spooked by the injuries. Now, the Tigers, they've been a possibility where they've been connected. I guess there's been some interest on both sides. And, hey, he pitched great. I mean, he was great for them, right? Went to the Dodgers. I mean, hey, get that 1-2 punch back together with Skubal and Flaherty. I think that would be awesome, right? Again, bringing up the Red Sox. They've been Rosenthal speculated that maybe the Red Sox could be there. I don't know. I don't know. I think the Red Sox are honestly going to be spooked by the injury history. I think they would rather take a chance on a short deal with Walker Buehler. That's kind of where I'm at. I think they would rather do even if it took 2 years, I think they're probably more interested in that. Yeah, Flaherty's interesting, man. Flaherty's interesting. I'm excited to see what his market turns out to be. But if it's Baltimore, well, let's take a look here. Now, where is that article that I had pulled up? Here it is. This is an interesting article from picturelist.com. Look at this article, everybody. I mean, this one, what was this, a few days ago? Like Friday night or something like that. What is today, the 15th? So Ben Palmer wrote this. Source, Orioles GM unwilling to spend despite green light from the owner. I mean, that's just crazy. Mike Elias is unwilling to spend significant amounts of money in free agency this offseason, despite new team owner David Rubenstein's expressed willingness to do so, according to a source close to the Orioles front office. Could you imagine if, let's play this scenario in our heads. Steve Cohen takes over the Mets. Let's just say David Stearns is there. Could you imagine if Steve Cohen took over the team and David Stearns is like, no, I don't want to spend. No, I want to do it a different way. I mean, could you imagine, like, first off, like how Mets fans would react to that? I mean, that would just be bedlam. I mean, my goodness. I mean, if I'm an Orioles fan and I see something like this, you got new ownership where they want to spend money. Like, that's another thing. You know, you got to think of it like we've seen ownerships over the past where, you know, they come in, they maybe want to evaluate things first. They kind of want to see what's going on with the organization. And maybe they take a year and then they say, okay, this is what we got. This is how everything is, right? We've looked at everything. All right, now let's go. This guy came in and said, okay, let's go get some guys. And then Mike Elias is saying, nah, I kind of don't want to do that. Like, what? Like, are you crazy? Like, you literally have the owner telling you that you can literally, like, it's like your parents coming home and they give you like $200 for your allowance when you were a kid. And you're like, no, I don't want to spend it. I don't want to do that. Your parents would look at you like you got two heads. Like, what? Are you crazy? I mean, I don't know, man. This is nuts. The source described a front office in which Elias has few checks or balances against his vision for the team. That vision for the Orioles, which the source described as a vanity project for Elias, is to build a team that serves as the antithesis to teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers and prove that an organization can be built from the ground up rather than be purchased through free agency. I mean, Justin, I see you. That article is complete BS. I mean, Picture List, man, they got some good guys that work there. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Doesn't sound like these are pretty specific details. Pretty specific. I don't know. But goes on to say here, however, Elias is in over his head in building a major league roster, the source noted. And there is currently no one within the Orioles front office as close to equal footing as Elias that could serve as a check on his decisions. Instead, Elias is elevating people within the organization who will allow him to maintain his personal vision for the team rather than shaking things up. I don't know, man. It sounds bonkers. Like, a part of me, like, I see what you're saying in the chat. If it is bogus, like, maybe there's more in the middle where maybe he does feel this way, where Elias really just wants to develop the farm to build a championship. Maybe he does want to spend money, but maybe he's holding off on it for a little bit. Maybe he's kind of putting it on a pause a little bit, right? to kind of see maybe how the market shakes up. I don't know. That just sounds, I don't know. I have no idea why you would want to do that. If you have the resources, use them. Why would you not? That's where I can understand where people question this. I can get that. Like I can have, equal, I can find equal ground with you there, because that's where it's like, man, like what? But then again, I don't know. Who knows? But the fact that someone, whether you think this is BS or not, whether you think this is, you don't believe it, this came from somewhere. And these are details, man. Like, these are not just, these are pretty specific. So that's where I look at it as, well, okay, there's probably at least some truth to this. I don't know, man. In addition, Elias doesn't want ownership to spend large amounts of money on free agents because it would make Elias more accountable and place higher expectations on him. The source added that the Orioles' new ownership group is naive and has no idea what they bought last year. And Rubenstein himself will often defer to Elias rather than force Elias' hand. This isn't the first time ownership has given Elias the green light to make a big splash, and Elias has declined to do so. The source noted that former Orioles chair and CEO John Angelos gave Elias permission last year to seek out a deal to acquire Juan Soto from the Padres. But Elias was uninterested in the proposition. I mean, if I'm an Orioles fan, I'm cheesed off reading that. Cheesed off. Because you just lost in the playoffs while Juan Soto, sure, they lost in the World Series, but they got to the World Series. You're telling me you had here, I'll tell you this. The Orioles, they absolutely could have gotten a deal done for Juan Soto. They've got plenty of prospects. I mean, now they didn't have a Michael King, right? That's something the Yankees had. So I don't know if maybe that's what the Padres were looking for. It's possible. So maybe the Orioles wouldn't have really wouldn't have been able to give something like that. I mean, you had Dean Kramer, right? Who's a club controlled, but Michael King is better than Dean Kramer. So I don't know. Then again, but they got prospects. So if they wanted to do that, but I think the Padres, they were from every team out there. They were looking for major league ready talent, right? One more thing. The source also spoke to manager Brandon Hyde's role in the organization, describing Hyde as a puppet and a pushover for Elias. Arguing the team, Hyde attempted to push back regarding the Orioles' shaky bullpen situation last year, arguing the team needed to get better and not necessarily younger. As a result, the team fired bench coach Freddie Gonzalez and co-hitting coach Ryan Fuller. Could maybe one of those guys be this source? I mean, maybe. That's kind of the first reaction I have to that. Maybe it was Freddie Gonzalez the source. Maybe. I don't know. Either way, whatever this is, that's pretty crazy. If this is true, Orioles fans, I am sorry. Very sorry about that, because that's got to be I've never seen anything like that. But who knows? Maybe it's a bunch of nonsense. But I would think if you're getting, again, specific details like that, there's probably got to be at least some kind of truth to it. We'll see. The Oakland A's making some moves. How about the Oakland A's making a move, bringing in Jeffrey Springs. Now, if you remember Jeffrey Springs, Red Sox legend back in 2020. was pitching out of the bullpen. And then he went to Tampa, and then this guy just, my goodness, was amazing. 2022, he was a 3 wins above replacement pitcher, had an ERA at 2.46, FIP at a 3.04. Very good that year. 2023 ended up getting Tommy John. And then this past year he came back. And now he's going to Oakland. We got Joe Boyle as the main piece going back to the Rays. Big reliever. A lot of velocity. Good slider as well. Has trouble with the command. Let's see if he can figure out with Tampa. But I'll tell you this right now. If Jeffrey Springs is healthy, I'm telling you, look out for Oakland. Look out for Oakland. I told you all this, man. I've been saying this for a while. I've been saying Oakland. I was liking their lineup, right? I like the young talent that they got. And now Brent Rooker is going to be sticking around. I've been saying this ever since they held on to Brent Rooker. I was thinking, listen, man, the A's, 2025, good core of young players coming up. Put it all together, and they could end up having a pretty decent team. The only problem was the pitching. But now you've added Severino. Now you've brought in Jeffrey Springs, which I know that's not. I guess they also went after Max Fried. They also went after Max Fried. Rapid transit. I'm going to be saving the super chats for the end, my friends. Super chats will be at the end. And thank you for those super chats that have come in, but I will be getting to your super chats at the end. But Jeffrey Springs, I think this is a nice, like, kind of Oakland kind of a move, right? A small market kind of a move, right? I like it. And we've already seen what he can do in the past. Like, this is a guy that can really deliver for you. Let's see. Looked pretty good in a small sample this past year. I like it a lot. You know, if we actually go back to Jeffrey Springs with the advanced metrics back in 2022, a lot of Reds, man. A lot of Reds. Telling you, man. I like this move. I like it a lot. And then for Joe Boyle, did I say Joe Doyle? I meant to say Joe Boyle. As you can see here, not great with the numbers, but this is a guy that's trying to look to harness his stuff. And the Rays, they have brought in guys like this before, and they have gotten a ton out of him. I think this could end up being a very good move for the Rays. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, if we go to the Baseball America scouting report for Joe Boyle, they give him a 70 on the fastball, a 70 on the slider, but a 30 on the control. But I'll trust the Rays to get something done. I will trust the Rays. Now, let's get to some super chats. Aaron Gonzalez, I'm reading the chat, my friend. I am getting to the super chat. You gotta calm down. Gotta calm down, Aaron. Here we go. Let's get to some super chats here, shall we? And just to make sure, is there any news that has come in? Have I missed any news? Nope, I think we're good. Nothing breaking has come through. But let's get to some supers here. Here we go. Let's pull these up here. Okay, here we go. All righty. Man, we got a few of them in here. Thank you so much. Blissed Fiend. What do you think about the Suns owner probably purchasing the Twins? I did see that the other day. Listen, the Twins, they've been having some issues when it comes to the payroll. You know, even Carlos Correa has been in the rumor mill. I know, I guess they came out and said that's probably not going to happen. But, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, they've been having issues. When they went and got Correa, that was huge because they never make moves like that. You know, last couple of years, though, they've been having the TV revenue issues. So, listen, I'm all about teams where I win money. That's why, like, Pirates fans, I feel so bad because Bob Nutting, like, it's crazy. I think you need, like, that's what's crazy about the Orioles story is that they got an owner that wants to spend money but they're not doing it. I don't know, man. Bliss Fiend, thank you so much. $25 super chat for you. That is amazing, my friend. Thank you so much. Matthew Villarreal, $4.99. Could the Padres trade Cease to the A's for Shea Langelier? Well, I'll say probably no on that. Langelier is their future catcher, right? They traded away Sean Murphy for him. I don't see that. Could you imagine, though? Could you imagine the A's go out there and make a play for Dylan Cease? That'd be fun. Or to the Mets for Acuna and Marcia. No, I don't think the Mets are going to give up Acuna. The Mets, I think, honestly, that's why I think Luis Castillo is a very good option for them, because he's going to cost something, but he's not going to cost a boatload like you would have to give up for Dylan Cease, right? Because with Castillo, he has a big contract attached to him. So a big benefit for the Mariners is the salary relief. So yeah, you'll have to give up a little something, but not a boatload. So I think that's where the Mets, they fit perfectly there, because they can just take on the money, which they're okay with. And their farm that they've rebuilt over the last few years, they're not having to take away from it in a big way, right? So I like the Mets more for Luis Castillo. Dylan Cease, I think of a team that's kind of got some prospects to burn that they just want to go for it. Again, the Angels. Now, I think the Angels could be a good trade partner if they even want to go out there and make some kind of a move like that, because the Padres could use a left fielder. They got Taylor Ward, who's under control for 2 years. You know, maybe you could send back someone like a Reed Detmers, who has a lot of control. He still has upside, but he just needs to be in the right environment. I feel like the Angels are just not the right environment. I think San Diego would be better for him. And then, attach a prospect or two along with those guys. I think the Angels would actually be pretty fun. It would be for 1 year. But hey, they said they want to compete. So, could you see, I don't think the Cubs would do it. Could you see the Blue Jays maybe make a move? Maybe. I don't know if they have the right pieces to get a deal done. I could see the Blue Jays thinking, you know what? We can't get Vlad signed up. Let's just go for it this year. They're having trouble bringing in guys in free agency. So go out there and make a trade, right? Maybe something like that. I don't think the Yankees are going to do it. I'd have a hard time seeing the Yankees. I mean, the Dodgers could do it if they wanted to. I mean, they got some young pitching, but you're not going to send anything to the Padres, so that's not going to happen. The Dodgers could make a move like that, but that's probably not the trade partner that's gonna happen. I remember the Reds last year. Didn't the Reds get involved at some point for Dylan Cease? I think the Rangers got involved for Dylan Cease too. Could you see the Rangers maybe do something? The Orioles, again, if they don't want to go out there and spend money, maybe the Orioles could make a play. That'd be 2 years in a row. You did Corbin Burns last year, and now you do Dylan Cease this year. That doesn't sound like, I don't know. Doesn't sound very productive if you ask me. You're bringing in big rentals back-to-back years. I could see it. I like Dylan Cease on the Orioles, but will Mike Elias pull the trigger on something like that? I don't know. Phillies are obviously trying to go for it. I could see them, but we'll see. Dylan Cease, if the A's would be fun. That would be fun. Sean Krupka, $10 super chat. Please tell me what the Reds are doing. Seems they're afraid to spend money or trade prospects for talent. I'm afraid their upgrade will be bargain bin guys like Winker or Kepler. I think a part of me, this is maybe wishful thinking, but I wonder if the Reds are maybe trying to just clear some space a little bit. You got a lot of young position players there. There's not really you got a lot of young club-controlled guys. So I feel like you would have to move someone, or at least know that you could move someone. and maybe you can go out there and bring in someone like Santander or something like that. You know, maybe. I could see them maybe making a trade, right? I think someone like Luis Robert could be possible. We'll see. I think the Reds are going to do something because they have a lot of guys they could deal. And I don't know. I mean, hey, remember they just made a move. All right, you brought in Brady Singer, so it's not like they've been completely quiet. I think they will make a couple more moves. Right? I think you just got to wait for this market to unfold a little bit. Guys come off the board. I think the Reds will be a player later on in free agency. At it, $1.99. John Angelo's pushing to trade for Soto. I mean, that's crazy, right? It's crazy, right? I mean, could you imagine Soto on the Orioles last year? That would have been nuts, man. Would have been nuts. Man. I'm seeing you guys in the chat. Odd villain, Bohm is whack. Yeah, Bohm's interesting. I think he's solid, right? I do wonder if Bohm ends up getting moved. I do wonder. Because at this point, with Bohm, there's already been like kind of a lot that's been out there already, right? How's he going to feel coming back into camp? And this guy's been all over the rumor mill. Like, Dave Dombrowski's been offering him to basically every single team. So, kind of wonder if you got to make a move for Bohm at some point. Yeah, Dilcor, they're asking for the world for Bohm. I mean, it's crazy. They're asking for so much. Crazy, man. Well, everyone, I think that is all I got here for tonight. We pretty much had a lot of trade rumors that we covered in the beginning of the stream. Let's see. Cody Bellinger. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to end up getting off of here, and then Cody Bellinger is going to get traded. Is that going to happen? That better not happen. It always happens. I get done. 10 minutes later, Jeff Passan breaks something. Goodness gracious. Man, how many times has that happened in the history of this channel? But Bellinger, Luzardo, Castillo, I think these guys end up getting moved at some point. Luzardo, I think there is a chance he could stay, but with how desperate teams are for starting pitching, I think it's possible he could end up going somewhere. We'll see. Not really too much on the free agent front, right? It's been pretty quiet on Corbin Burns. Nothing's going to happen with Flaherty, at least I would think, until after Burns is figured out. You still got a lot of bats out there. Teoscar, Santander. It's interesting. I feel like we're in this awkward phase right now where you're just waiting for teams to blink a little bit. Let's see if something happens this coming week, right? Let's see if teams are like, all right, we had the weekend. Let's do something. Let's figure this out. Or they go to the agents and be like, hey, come on. All right, let's get something done for Corbin Burns. Scott Boras, let's go. Come on. Let's figure this out. But everyone, I'm going to hop out of here. I got a show on Fenway Faithful. We're going to go over there. We're going to talk some Red Sox. So come on over to Fenway Faithful. I'm going to put the channel. I'm going to put it in the chat so that way you know where to go. Go to Fenway Faithful. We're going to be talking some Red Sox here. But everyone, I want to thank you for joining me here tonight. Just a quick rundown of the rumors from this past weekend. Got some content coming out for this week. Going to be probably coming up with some more trade kind of videos, maybe some free agent kind of videos. We'll have some fun with a couple of things this week, but do expect some shows throughout the week. You know me. If there's anything to talk about, we'll be here. We'll talk about it. But everyone, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you again for the super chats tonight. Thank you for the big crowd here tonight. Always appreciate that. But everyone, go have yourself a good rest of your night. If anything does break, I'll be back as soon as it happens. So everyone, until then, I'll talk to you next time.